Hello and welcome to the Big Debate presented by Smoke TV. Tonight we have 6 student panelists who will be discussing questions based on our theme. What is the future of education and how should students respond? My name is Miriam, I'm the Vice President of Cavendish and I will be your chair for this evening. I'm delighted to introduce you to your panel for tonight. On my left, we have Felipe Schaeffer, who was part of the student movement in Brazil, which won battles against the government, including half-price student travel passes and subsidised food on campus, as well as the opening of new local universities. Francesca Barco, a Spanish and international relations student, she has been involved in the student movement in Italy and the UK. Back in Italy, she took part in the anti-mafia movement for many years, and last April was in Sheffield as an NUS delegate for the University of Westminster. Callum Williamson, a politics undergraduate and a member of the Communist Students. And on my right, we have Adam Al-Saleh, studying BSc Computer Science and in his 3rd year. Adam is also the NUS delegate leader and president of the ECS Society. Adam Clarke is a history and politics 1st year and a former member of the UK Youth Parliament for East Staffordshire. And Hayden Walmsley is a 2nd year politics and international relations student. He has been involved in politics for a number of years and spent the last 10 years in an American style, marching back, competing all over the UK and Europe. So, welcome everybody. Without further ado, let's get straight to the first question. Khaled Mamouni, please.
Hi there, Miriam, and hello to our panelists. The first question is, will the increase in fees help or hinder the development of the value of university education?
Right then, Hayden, would you like to start us off with that question, please?
Thank you for that. Thank you for the question. I think it's important to look in the general, looking at what's happened in the country and what we have in terms of finances. At the moment, the country is borrowing £132 million every day just in servicing the debt on our the interest on our national debt alone. Now, I know that it's not a popular measure to have to increase fees, etc., but I think it's necessary. On the other hand, at the same time, the new funding system actually should be something seen as a benefit to students. At the end of the day, it will reduce monthly payments for students. So a graduate will not start paying money until they earn £21,000. And on average, they'll pay £45 less each month, which is £540 a year, than they do under the current system. The new system that's coming in place, which is actually in place now for first-year students, as anyone in first year will know, will also increase the amount of contributions and assistance that we're given to students, with £150 million made available. I would, however, like to see more of American-style system where we're giving more bursaries, etc., for students that have the intellect, and especially those from poorer backgrounds. But I think we're going a good way to making the system far more balanced, affordable, but also fair for the students.
Felipe, would you like to take this question?
I think the increase of the fees isn't something, it's nothing new, it's something that the Tories wanted to do for a very long time. Is the split of the classes, is the elitization of the educational system. So this whole, the whole excuse of, you could name figures and data on deficit, but I don't buy it. I don't understand how that's going to improve the whole, the state of the country. You can name, there is money. The point is that there is money. The whole talk about there is no money and we have to pay off the debt because of the interest and blah blah blah. Well, you can take the example of in Iceland, where instead of bailing out bankers, the government actually, or the people, bailed out workers, and they've done a lot better than anywhere else than America and Europe. So they even arrested the president, went to jail, and the three CEOs from the 3 major banks got arrested. But what I'm trying to say with that is that there is money. There's tax evasion money, like in billions, like 42 billions is the revenue and customers figures, but we reckon there's a lot more than that, on hundreds of billions every year. There's nuclear energy money going to that, money going to war, so there is money. So I don't understand, and that's a question. I mean, why do students have to pay for it's a simple question, but why do students have to pay for a crisis they didn't do? We have nothing. I understand that bad decisions were made, but guess what? We don't make bad decisions here. We study.
Okay, we got Adam C. You're up next.
Yep. Well, as a first-year student where these fees affect me, obviously I would love not to have paid them. But the fact of the matter is, we're not in a situation where we can't pay them. And at the end of the day, why should somebody earning 16,000, 10,000, 20,000, why should they pay for me to come to university to get better education where I'll then be going on to earning 40, 50, 60,000? It's just not fair. I also think that this new system that the government's brought in is, I think it's a fair and progressive system that obviously people can argue that paying £6,000 extra, that's not going to help poorer people get to university, that paying £9,000 isn't going to help social mobility. But then you have to look at the facts that £150 million is being invested into the National Scholarships Scheme. The maintenance grant, they've raised it from £2,900 to £3,250. Any university which is charging more than £6,000 has to prove that they do have measures in place to help poorer, lower income families into higher education. And then the question was speaking about will this affect the development of university? But then I also think it's key to remember that university isn't the only option. That there are apprenticeships, you can go out and get a job, you can go into A-levels, and that university is not the only option. And that it's about finding the right way and the right course for people to go to improve their lives and to get a good life, rather than just shoveling everybody into university and now the other end with a degree and imagining that makes a better society. It just doesn't.
Thank you very much. Francesca.
Thank you. Of course, I disagree with raising the fees. And about social mobility, I don't think that charging £6,000 or more will help social mobility. Actually, I think that society will be stuck because more and more people will not be able to afford the fees or the debt that they will come because of them. And moreover, you said, and I can understand that people should focus also on other kind of jobs, but the thing is that, like, as long as many less students will be able to afford universities, there will be many less graduates, and in a world where like we are highly specialized and we are becoming more and more specialized, people without a degree won't be able to find a job. And there will be a huge difference between graduates and undergraduates, and there will, and being more and more or less non-graduates people. There will be an elite, and this is going to be a stuck society, as I said before.
Okay, I can see we've already got some questions in the audience. We'll just get everyone to get in the panel first to get their opinion across, and then I'll go to you guys. Adam S.
I mean, I just want to go back to Khalid's question. You know, Khalid said, asked a really good question. Does it hinder or increase the value of university? Of course, everyone here is talking about why the fees are coming across, what their opinion on fees are, but we need to concentrate on, you know, what is important in that question, and is the value of education and what we receive as a result of the fees actually does increase how we take and perceive our university degree. Obviously, anyone that's being affected by the fees no longer think, oh, you know, maybe it's an option where I can just drop out of university this year. Maybe I find it tough and I can't cooperate with it. So obviously, people start to think, oh, you know what, maybe I should stick it through, maybe I should put my head down and concentrate. So yes, I do think, you know, despite the fees, which I obviously am also against the rising up, I also feel that the increase of university value and the education and the certification you get from it is definitely increased. Thank you.
Finally, Callum.
Okay. Well, first thing, we need to recognize that as a society, we absolutely can afford free education, and that it's in the interest of the majority of people to have free education. It's not a question of the deficit. capitalist states run with deficits. That has always been the case. This is by no means an extraordinary deficit that we've run up now. And this scheme is not about cutting costs either. The Higher Education Policy Institute very recently has said there's a big £1 billion hole in this scheme, in the government's plans for higher education, because they've got their estimates wrong on graduate salaries, and they've got their estimates wrong on how quickly the fees would rise. Now, what you're having actually is the commodification of education. And when you commodify something, you don't just change who has access to it. And this is regressive. The people who are going to be put off paying these fees and being saddled with debt for 30 years will be people with less money. It goes without saying, really. And no, you don't just change access, who has access, but you actually change the nature of the thing itself. There will be cost cutting, the way education is taught and what will be taught will be changed as a result of the introduction of fees and their subsequent hiking, and it will be adverse for students, and also because the humanities are taking a disproportionate amount of beating here. It will be negative for the critical subversive element of education, and you'll see greater political and economic control of education by big business, and that's something we absolutely need to fight.
All right, I saw we had some. All right then, do we have some comments from the audience? Do you have a question?
Yeah, can I direct it at a particular person?
Yes, of course you can, but shout, please.
Okay, it's to you, Francesca. Basically, you insinuated that by getting a degree, it means that you have job security. We're having an issue at the moment where graduates come out of university and spend thousands of pounds on getting a degree, and they don't have a job when they get out. Whereas you insinuated that when you get out of university, you'll have a degree and you'll have a job, and it'll be fine.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I must apologize because I didn't want to insinuate that. I am saying, and I will clarify for you, that in the modern world, and like after the crisis especially, those who are looking for a job are requested to have a very high level curriculum vitae, like CV. And what I'm saying is not that like as long as you finish university, you will find a job. Actually, I don't know if I will find a job, but as long as I graduate, I am sure I have better possibilities, and like doing a master as well, I have better possibilities to get a job in what I want to do, in the field I want to be in the future, rather than not having a degree and just going in and trying to be someone, because specializing gives you the skills to then to be developed in your future job. So I'm sorry if I insinuated something like that. I didn't mean to.
We got Adam C wants to respond.
I think that's a great point you made about the fact that getting a degree doesn't guarantee getting a job. And I think that's also a key point of why we need to look at the other options available to people, so that we know that they are going for the right course and that they are going to go down a way in life which will suit them and best benefit them. Just getting people into university won't do that. Going back to a point that Callum made about saying that it's the poorest people that aren't going to be able to pay off the debt. I think it's key to point out now that getting a degree on average earns you £100,000 more than somebody who doesn't have a degree. And that as a result, that means that by getting a degree in itself will put you in a position better off to pay back the student fees. I also think it's key to remember that under the old system, at £15,000 you started to pay off the student fees, whereas now this has been raised, so it's not until at £21,000 where you start paying the fees. If your earnings drop below £21,000, then your repayments are suspended. If it goes back up, then you start paying it off again. On top of this, the repayments are actually cheaper than what they were. It's, I think, £40 a month you are better off, and it's £540 a year you're better off. And then I think I'll leave it there.
Okay, thank you. Khaled, do you want to come back on that?
Regarding the fees, I think we're looking at it from a completely different angle. The issue here is not the practicalities of whether the fees are, on face value, they look good in terms of the new sort of structure, you know? You're not paying back until 21,000, you're not paying them back until you earn a particular salary, so in face value, it looks really good. The issue here is the debt. That's where the real debate is. If a student that comes out of university with 50k debt or 100k debt, is it the same as a student who comes out with no debt? Would they have the same opportunities in life to whatever they do, to open up a business, to begin a family, and do whatever they want to do in terms of their life? And also the Tory government, they may have increased in terms of the maintenance grant and all the different grants, but the reality is they've sort of decreased the subsidies they give universities. So basically, ultimately, what we're doing is we're paying higher fees for potentially lower standards in terms of our universities, in terms of teaching standards and one-to-one session opportunities.
Okay, Hayden, you look like you wanted to respond to that.
I mean, I take your point, and whilst it's not necessarily a debate on the fees themselves, the problem is the fees are what's seen as the biggest stumbling block, and I'm afraid it's the media's misrepresentation of these fees that's giving the problems and the sort of the opinions that you say that I can't afford it, I'm going to be saddled for debt for life. I mean, one of the big problems, one of the big things is, like I say, you pay less back each month, and if you're a lower paid worker, such as a nurse and teacher, you will pay often less back into the overall time than you do now. The government estimates that between 30 and 40% of students that come through education will have some, if not all, of their debt written off after the time period. But I think also, you know, it's, like I say, it's media misrepresentation of what's going on here that is a big problem that what we've got. I mean, I've got a question for you all here. I mean, the government is still paying 40%, or those of you who are first years in this room, the government still pays 40% toward the cost that it costs to educate you as a student. It's changed from the point where the government used to basically pay 60 or 70% and you would pay 40. It's just now flipped the other way around. The government is still making a large investment to your cost. But I mean, a question for you, does anyone in this room know how much in 2010 our national debt increased by? Anyone? Well, Office of National Statistics, £121 billion. Now, to put that into context, you know, for those who say that we have money, etc., £121 billion was how much more we added to our debt in 2011. That is equivalent to, or roughly the same as, the entire defence budget, the entire education budget, and the entire Transport Department budget. Those who say we have money, I am sorry, we don't. 1% rise in interest rates would be roughly £1,000 per year more on an average mortgage. That will affect your parents, that will affect you in time, but it will affect you now as well, because it will affect the price of your rentals whilst in London, which already is more expensive than most of the country.
All right, Hayden, thank you very much. We're going to start to wrap this up. So, question at the front and then one at the back. So, do you want to stand up for us, please? Is that all right?
That's fine. I'll speak loud. I reckon the new system has actually drawn a line between the rich and the poor, because you've got the rich, half of them, the poor who don't want to go to university due to the debt. But yet the people that do go to university and come out with a 50k debt, they don't want to pursue the best job. It limits them because they know if they get a job which earns them more than 21k, they would have to pay. So they would want to stay in between, below that, so they don't have to pay anything. And you've got the rich who, they can go in, they know they can spend as much as that, and they know they can pay off the debt. That's my point.
Okay, we've got one more question at the back there. Yeah, please.
Hayden, I'm obviously studying the media course. I do understand how the media does manage to sort of misrepresent the things that it reports. But I don't see how it can misrepresent the fact that you're paying more fees. I think that statement is a bit rubbishy. On the basis that and just being as frank as possible, £3,000 and £9,000 is still £6,000 difference. Because losing me nothing more to misrepresent the fact you're paying money and you have more debt.
All right, I think we're going to take one more argument from this side. If one of the panelists here want to say something.
I think, I can't stand up. I think you can go on about, it can become very technical, a very technical conversation. You went from 15 grand now to 21 grand, and this percentage and I think I don't get too hooked up on those things, because the bottom line is, do you think that education is a commodity? Do you think it's a product? Do you think commodity? Do you think education is something that businesses can make profit on? Do you think it's something that you should buy, or do you think it's a human right, as well as health service, housing, if you like, which in my opinion is the right thing to do. What the guys over there said is completely right. I mean, what this policy is doing is splitting the rich and the poor. There's no doubt about it, and that's the policy that the Conservative always had, and that is the policy the Labour Party always had as well. Let's not fool ourselves here. Labour Party and Conservative, the major difference between them is the difference that we're walking towards the abyss. There's no massive difference, and that can be very disheartening for us, for students in Britain. Who are we going to vote for? How are we going to exercise democracy if we can only vote for those two parties? So we've got a mission now, which is organize ourselves, and we've got next week a demonstration on Wednesday, which is we should all go together as a group, as a united group, showing the solidarity to other schools and other universities in UK, but also to the struggles of students abroad. Students in Chile now who just won severe battles for the past 2 years, been fighting and going on strikes and occupying education. The students in Quebec who... All
right, Felipe, I'm going to start to draw it back to the topic, because we've got 2 more comments really quickly here.
So I'm just going to conclude,
and then we'll go on to the next question.
I'm going to just conclude.
Really wind up.
So I hope to see all of you on Wednesday
we'll
at the demonstration.
We'll come to that later, don't worry. Really, really quickly, guys, because we need to move on.
I just wanted to respond to Felipe and also the gentleman at the front. I disagree with what you said. I disagree with the fact that that draws a line between the rich and the poor, because at the end of the day, these repayments for the loans don't happen if, the difference between 21,000 and 25,000. No, it happens with excess over 25,000. So if you receive 27,000, then you are paying the 9% back on the 2,000 they're receiving over the 25,000. So it doesn't mean, if you're set in a situation where you're offered the job for 24,000, you think, no, because I'm not, it's not going to work out that way. So I think, won't draw that line.
Okay, I know we've got more comments, but I'm really sorry, we're going to have to move on to the next question. Okay, last one, Adam, so you go ahead.
Coming back to your point, that saying that as a first-year student myself, I've been in the fortunate position where I was a member of the youth parliament. That allowed me to go up and down the country and speak to thousands of young people. And let me just make it clear that nobody is coming to university now to get, £40,000 worth of debt, to come out at the end and thinking, actually, I'm not going to get the best job I can get. I'm going to go for the worst job I can get so I don't have to pay that off. That's just not the reality of it. The reality is people are coming to university to better themselves so they can go for the top jobs. And I'm sure you're a great person, but I disagree with you on that point. Sorry.
All right, I'm really sorry. Next question. Thank you very much for that. Next question, let's go to Andrew Gale, please.
Is the marketisation of education inevitable, and do you think it is a good thing or a bad thing?
All right, shall we start off with Callum on this side then, please?
Well, the marketisation of education is something that's going on an international level. It's happening on a European level at the moment, and we're seeing resistance to that, just like here. But it's not inevitable in that there's nothing we can do about it. But it's certainly in line with the logic of capitalism today, eking out profit in areas it wouldn't have done beforehand, completely unproductive areas of the economy like health, things that used to be done by government that now these predatory capitalists are making money off. But I mean, in terms of what's happening with marketisation, it's being sold to us basically under the guise that it's going to make everything so much more efficient. It's going to streamline education and raise standards. It's going to play university against university, and those that do exceed will do so at the expense of others. Ultimately, you're going to see more regulation and more bureaucracy, not less. The Higher Education Funding Council for England will play the role of a sector regulator, You'll see a lot more money spent on non-academic areas, things like advertising for universities, and you'll have an expansion of the sort of managerial layer within education that aren't involved in teaching or the provision of any of these services. So the idea it's about streamlining, that's obviously not the case. So what is it about? Well, it's about control. It's about control of education. And it's about putting control not just in the hands of this managerial layer, but also in the hands of big business, because what you're seeing is, and the new white paper, they say explicitly that there'll be no government-imposed limits on industry-university collaboration. So it's a kind of sign of things to come. But no, you're getting, businesses can sponsor the tuition of individuals that they want to employ afterwards. They can sponsor courses and projects, research projects. And what you're seeing is an education system tailor-made to the short-term interests of capitalists, of these businesses. And not actually addressing what are the challenges facing humanity today, like global warming and the ecological disaster and the crisis of capitalism I could go on, but I mean, what we need is an education tailored towards addressing those problems that present themselves to humanity, and also an education that's there for individual fulfillment. And not to train people, which is where you develop someone's mind for the use of another. We don't want an education system that is completely subject to the rule of profit.
Right, Adam, S.
I think marketization of education in some aspects is inevitable, yes. But is it such a bad thing? Maybe not, because with anything there needs to be funding. There needs to be an end goal and ways to achieve it, and nothing happens for free. Our time is money. The way we approach things, the things we dedicate our time to, this is all an added cost that we need to consider. We can no longer do things with just taxing people or with just relying on commodities in certain countries. So yes, it might be inevitable, but going back to our previous question, it increases value. It's the way that we move forward is different. The value that we place on ourselves increases, and the way that we handle it is also different. And I think, maybe it's not such a bad thing, but yes, I think it is. It is inevitable.
Okay,
Thank you.
Francesca.
Thank you, Miriam. To be frank, I think that marketizing education is the worst thing to do, because education, as we already said, it's not a commodity, and it's completely atypical as a product for the market. So if we go, well, let's say I go to the supermarket and I buy a glass of bottle and I choose between some brands, but to be honest, I don't want to choose between brands when it comes to education just because one has a better advertisement. To be honest, I want to get the best education with autonomous way of thinking. And so I think that this consumerist ideology completely rots the idea of higher education, because it has to be autonomous and critically thinking. And also, when institutions get fundings from private sector, they are not going to be autonomous anymore. I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself. They are going to be biased anyway, because they're going to focus on getting more money, not getting a better quality. And the same student will see education as another product to buy, and it's not a product, it's a right. Exactly what he said, it's a human right. It's written in the Charter of Human Rights. So we have to ask and to go on asking for the education to be free and free from the market, because the market is something that has nothing to do with it.
Do you think, going back to Andrew's original question, do you think it is inevitable though?
No. definitely not.
Okay, thank you. Adam C. Adam C.
I don't think it is inevitable. I think we're in the process now of marketisation of it. And yes, I do think it's a good thing for the education system. It can provide much needed funding for it, which we do need because there's not an endless pot of money despite what people would like to think. It also provides us great opportunities to expand the capacity of our education system. Not quite universities, but if we look at academies, I'm from a town called Burton-upon-Trent. It's located in Staffordshire, and just outside of that was the first academy, it was the JCB Academy. Now that specialises in international business, and it also specialises in engineering. And I think that this is a great opportunity to go out there and to give people alternatives which can provide them with necessary skills which are vital for the economy and which we do need, which cannot necessarily be found in a normal school. Oh, okay. Which is not necessarily found in a normal school. I mean, how many schools have their own manufacturing plant just around the corner that you can go and spend work experience in? Because there just aren't any. And I think that it is a good thing for the education system, and that it can help in the long run. It will help. And I don't think this idea that it's turning us all into the product which the universities are trying to buy, and that we are this consumerism thing. We already are the product. If you look at companies like Google, Facebook, we're the product. They want the users because then they can sell them to the companies to advertise. That's how it works. Anybody that's on Facebook, anybody that Googles anything, you are the product. So saying that, no, the marketisation of education is making us all products, we don't want to be that, it's just not the case. This has been happening for years. It's not a bad thing. It's allowed us to have great services like Google and Facebook, which can let us search information in an instant and can also connect us with people across the world. And so therefore I think we're in the process of marketisation, but I don't think it is a bad thing, and I think ultimately it will help, and it will lead to a better education for the people, and it will also lead to a better education system in general.
All right, I'm going to jump straight in because we've got lots of hands up. So start at the back. Do you want to stand up for us, please?
Just wanted to say that I understand the fact that the country is indebted, and it's imperative that we reduce the debt. The problem, if we cannot agree, is in my opinion, in order to tackle a problem, you need to understand the problem. You need to go to the root of the problem. So that takes me to debt of the country, for example. I think you mentioned that we have £100 billion debt, something like that, in 2012. That's UK is not indebted because the government has been funding the student fees. UK is indebted because the government has built up a habit of funding the lavish lifestyles of investment bankers. So we are having to pay for bailing out of the country, which shouldn't be a problem. The government has always been funding student fees from when it started. So if the government wants to reduce the debt, the government should deal with the bankers. I mean, I think I read in the newspaper a few weeks ago, a guy aged 39 has made £450 million. He's an investment banker. £450 million, he's looking to retire at the age of 49. So the government funded his education to amass £450 million and retire at the age of 49, and you're telling me that I have to pay £9,000 when he got it for free. So I'm saying, why can't the government actually focus on the roots of the problem, which is bankers? How do you regulate bankers? How do you get them to be accountable? How do you get them to actually to be responsible instead of having to embezzle all this money and have people like us to pay for it? It's not fair.
Okay, we're just going to draw it back to the point. Great point, but let's keep it on topic as much as possible, please. So Andrew's question was about the marketisation of education. Do you want to stand up and tell us your point, please?
Well, Adam, you keep coming back to this point of how, putting people out in the workplace, you're giving them skills that they might not get at university. But, at the end of the day, university for me, it's academia, yeah. That's a part of university. There's so much more to university. There's like the social life, the social aspects of it. It's about making you a fuller, rounded person. And are you telling me you'd get that in the workplace?
Yes.
Do you want to respond?
Yes, you do get a social life in a workplace. You do get new experiences in a workplace. Going to school or going to academies, going to work experience, these are all different skills that you can learn that will round you off as a person. You make it out as if going to university is the only way to have a social life. It's the only way to develop yourself, become more independent.
No, sorry, just to come back to that. I don't think it's the only way to do something, but I think that university allows me to, in a way, be creative and think outside of the box. If I'm going into an institution, I'm going to be thinking what they want me to think, or the way they want me to work for them, right? So I'm not really going to be able to think on my own, and I think that a university allows me to be able to make up my own mind and then be able to go into the workplace and be like, I can do this differently, or we can improve on this. Whereas if you go and start to work for something, surely those ideas won't be in you.
All right, have we got, let's try and keep it on topic as much as possible, please, everyone, because we are a limited time. So, point on marketisation of education. Yeah? Stand up, please.
Yes, I believe that it's not inevitable, because in a direct democracy, the people decide. And another thing is, the marketisation of education is actually a really, really bad thing. It's like Felipe and the other lady there said that it's a human right, it's a basic human right to get educated and go to university. And I agree with that. Furthermore, like, if you market universities, we'll probably start marketing schools and other things, because there's something that governments do. It's like the experiment of the frog and the water. If you put a frog in hot water, it will jump straight back up. But if you put a frog in warm water and then you heat up the water, the frog will die in there. This is what most governments do. They slowly take you towards, you know, marketization and the stuff they want. They slowly assimilate the public. So I think that if it's not inevitable, because if we stand together and unite as a people, we'll be stronger and we'll be like the beacon of direct democracy, which means the people decide and the government deliver. Thanks.
All right. I think, Adam, we need to start wrapping this one up as well. So, Adam, really quickly.
I just think, Peter, the government isn't doesn't have a long plan to deceive us. I mean, the marketization of education is not a whole thing that's secretive behind doors as just, that's coming out to deceive us. No, what's happening is we're, just like you said, the frog experiments, the government's also acclimatizing themselves towards the situation that we're in. We need to evolve and adapt ourselves to best suit whatever situation we're in. And at this time, as Hayden has said, we are building up on debt. And with you guys keep on going back to the right of education. The right of education isn't the right of university education. You have to understand education is not limited to universities and limited to academies and limited to schools. It's public libraries. It's information on the internet. This is all education. I can sit here and go through everything that I've learned through my university career, through what I can find online, through the documents on different websites. It's all skill-based learning at the end of the day. And if we're able to do it ourselves, then great. University is there to train people how to study for themselves, how to meet their own goals, how to set their own goals, and how to be able to adapt to live their own lives in the society once they graduate.
All right, Hayden, really quickly, and then a couple more points, and then I'm afraid we're really going to have to wrap this up. Go ahead, Hayden.
I just want to say, on the marketisation, I mean, at the end of the day, especially if you're, like say, first year and you've got more fees, you want the best education you can have. You want to come here to give yourself a best chance of opportunity to progress and to build yourself. But at the end of the day, if we have too many graduates, a degree becomes meaningless. You have to draw the line somewhere between those who have a higher academic ability. Yes, education is a right to all, and I agree it's to post-18, and I'm glad the government's moved it from 16 to 18. But at the end of the day, it's got to stop somewhere. Otherwise, your highest people are going to have to do masters, and you're going to say, well, it's then going to be PhDs. Before long, we'll be creating something else. At the end of the day, if including academies, but also universities, if they can bid and they can be the best that they can be in order to attract you to be there, what's wrong with that? It's this current system anyway. You chose this university for a magnitude of reasons, and one of them would be the way that the teaching is done, how good it is, and the league tables. There's not a great deal of difference to that. I mean, government's increasing the teaching budget to universities to £7.9 billion a year. That's increase roughly of just over £500 million a year.
Do you want to make a point at the back there? You stuck your hand up. Do you want to stand up so everyone can hear you, please?
Just out of interest, you say it's not just, education isn't just higher education, but have you not seen the current cuts which are being made to secondary schools? The libraries, internet access, the list is like endless. I know this is getting a bit off topic, but...
Wow! All right, we've got one more from there, from the back. Do you want to stand up for us?
Sorry, you lot all sound like a bunch of conservatives, yeah? Sorry, I know it sounds really rude. I really don't want to make it sound like I'm personally attacking you, yeah? But the way you're responding, it's like you don't get it, yeah? Like, obviously, I know we're on question 2. Back to question 1, yeah? Like,
I'm gonna...
It's on topic, so I'll keep it short, yeah? Back to question 1, where your responses are like academia-based responses. Let's go back to like the vast majority of people who just aren't interested in that many things and just aren't interested in that many facts. Like, let's keep it nice and simple. The truth of the matter is, we're paying more money. The truth of the matter is, advertising for education is not the best way to do it. Like, it's ridiculous to say that we should adapt it because that's where the world is going. Why can't we keep education pure? Why can't we keep education as education? Why do we have to market it with nice colours and what we can give away with a free bag because this company's got more money and this company can make it more attractive to come to it between suits and needs? That doesn't make any sense.
So what's your solution?
All right.
What's your
I
solution?
don't know what my solution is, but I know your solution is rubbish.
Okay, I'm really sorry, guys. Hayden, we're going to have to wrap it up, I'm afraid.
At the end of the day, money affects all
guys,
of us,
I don't want to kill your passion, but we are going to have to wrap it up, I'm afraid. We're going to have to go to the third question. Thanks for all your comments. Right, final question from Hira Khan, please.
This comes back to your point, actually. Will you be attending the demo, and why or why not?
Okay, let's go along a line. Will you be attending the demo? And if you will, why? And if you won't, why not?
It may probably come as no surprise to you, I won't be attending the demonstration because I think that, not that I disagree with demonstration, if people wish to go and demonstrate, that's perfectly within their right, and I think it's a good thing that we can do in a democracy, but I don't agree with the aims and goals we're trying to achieve. I think what the new reforms are coming are actually going to be better, more progressive, and I think that what's happening, the spending, this government spending, you know, says, oh, it doesn't affect me and you. It will affect you. At the end of the day, if we run out of money, like Greece, they had to find £5 billion in a week just to stay running and afloat. At the end of the day, if we don't manage it now, as I said earlier, 1% interest, £1,000 more on a mortgage, increases your mortgage payments over here, your families, increases your rents, and also it will mean that the government actually can do less in time. You know, we all love our free health, education, the NHS in this country, but simply, if we don't control it now, we won't be able to afford the NHS. You know, we want to stay as a sovereign nation and defend ourselves. We don't sort it out now, we won't be able to do that. We want to continue with an education system that's free up until 18 and as subsidised as possible at university. If we don't sort out our debt and our problems now, we won't be able to do that. Quite simply, we've got to tackle things now, and unfortunately everyone has to do their fair share.
All right, Adam C.
No, I won't be attending the demo either, and I believe we should be working with the government trying to come to solutions that suit everybody. We shouldn't just be knee-jerk reaction, jump in if there's a policy we don't like. I believe that there are plenty of opportunities for us to work with the government, for us to have this dialogue with the government. And I also don't feel that yes, the majority of students who go on the demo will demo peacefully, but there's still a high chance that this will end up like the last demo where students were smashing shops. They were at the Conservative headquarters, keeping the workers who were there trapped in. They were going on the roof throwing fire hydrants off. This sort of behaviour is not how I as a student want to be represented. Yes, it might be a minority, but this is a minority who are still representing all of us. These images are being shown around the world and showing up British students as some kind of mindless thug. We aren't this, and as a first year student, I believe that the tuition fees changes are an improvement. I'm not going on the demo, and I just feel sorry for the second and third year students who will start paying back as soon as you earn 15,000.
Go ahead, Adam.
I think in a larger scale of what does happen is the British media and international media focuses on what does go wrong with the demo, and what does go wrong is a lot. You know, there's a lot of bad representation for the students in the UK. And in most cases, you don't see on TV, oh, look, they protested peacefully, they demanded what they wanted, and they got what they wanted in the long run. But unfortunately, what happens is, you know, just like Adam said, you know, what is highlighted is the fact that fire extinguishers are thrown off the roof, that damage is done, that even the monuments in London that we all, you know, can familiarize ourselves with are, you know, damaged and tarnished. So I won't be attending the demo because I don't want to be part of that negative representation, because that affects us all, and I feel that I'd prefer to optimize my time for other things.
Okay. Millbank was great. I want to start off by saying that. in terms of, I am going to go on this demonstration. We have to be realistic about where we are at the moment, but definitely it could be useful for getting momentum going and building the confidence of our movement. But I think what we need this time that we didn't have a couple of years ago with the student protests is a long-term strategy, a vision for an alternative for education, not just, we want to block this bill, we want to try and cause a split in the government and win a bit of public opinion. We need to actually start articulating what kind of education we want, and if students aren't the ones doing that, then who should? And I think what we should be aiming for is publicly owned education, run democratically by education workers and students. And I don't think that can be separated, actually, from a struggle for a different kind of society, a socialist society, a radically democratic society.
Francesca?
I will be attending the demo, and I will be attending the University of London demo, so I won't be ending up in Kennington. And I will be doing it because I believe that it is a part of the process of making, of building up a better future for me and for who comes after me. And moreover, I'm not going to climb any cenotaph or set fire to any building. And as you said before, I was involved in other student movements in my country, and I can tell you that it is sometimes the students who do something that is completely wrong, but it is sometimes also someone else that pretends to be a student, but it's not, and just wants media coverage to pretend that the students are wrong.
Go ahead, Felipe.
I think that, in the question of violence in demonstrations, I mean, what is more violent? You've got to ask yourselves, stop reading what the mainstream papers say, and what is more violent? Is it there was one fire extinguisher thrown out of the mill bank, or is it the billions and billions of pounds being evaded in taxes every year? I mean, can you imagine how much education could have bought with that money? How many working men who could have kept in their jobs? I mean, that's the question you got to ask yourself. So, I know it's crucial.
So will you be attending the demo?
I will be attending the demo,
okay.
For sure. And that, not only because you show solidarity to our movement here, but like I said before, you show solidarity internationally to workers in Greece, from students from Chile, to the students in Quebec. You show solidarity domestically and internationally. And I've got just to conclude, I think we all have to be very clear about what democracy means. And there's not voting every 4 or 5 years, but it's taking the demonstrations. And also, that applies for the university cosmos. We've got 3 members of our student union here. So go after them, and if you want to go to the demonstration, make sure that they push you guys. If that's what you want, whatever you want, go and speak to them. Don't just vote every year.
Okay. All right. We are very, very close to the end of time. I'll just take a few comments from the audience, and then that's it. Do you want to go ahead?
Hi. I completely appreciate where you guys are coming from. I think you've been a bit slated this evening, and I appreciate the figures that you've come up with. I like the fact that it's backed up what you're saying. My point is, do you not think that this should be about unity, this protest? That you guys come from all these great places, and you've obviously done these great things, and you come from these charities, youth parliament. Do you not think you should use those platforms to help other students, that, these ones that go out and do throw things out? Do you not think you should be helping those students to get their message out in a more effective way, rather than just saying, no, I'm not going, so I don't agree with it?
Okay, one more comment here. One more comment here, really quickly. Do you want to stand up for us, please?
Going back to the point where you said that there's no money in the system, surely it would be better for the government to bring policies where they put tighter regulations on corporation tax. Yesterday, I read in the newspaper that Google, Amazon, and Starbucks, they're not paying any tax. Surely, instead of passing the buck on to students, they should look at making tighter regulations on financial industry.
Okay. All right, it's not really on topic. One more comment there, please. Do you want to stand up so we can hear you? Thank you.
According to the Institute for Fiscal Studies, that will be, due to the 9,000 fees increase, that will be a 40 billion deficit by 2050. So what have you got to say about that?
Adam, you look like you wanted to respond, and we are going to have to wrap it up.
First of all, I'd like to say that I actually think it's terrible that Callum was just condoning violence by saying that Millbank was great. Also, you asked if... thank you. Also, you asked what is violent. What is violence? Is it throwing a fire extinguisher off a roof, or is it the tax avoidance? Well, actually, it is throwing the fire extinguisher off the roof. That is violence. The same as smashing up windows. Yes, pardon, what was that? Going to war, yeah, that's violent as well.
Let's try to stick to the topic as much as possible, please.
Yes, tax avoidance is terrible, and I don't think... Yes, it's not right, and we need to tackle this tax avoidance. These companies are making a profit, and they should be paying the fair tax for that. But then I don't think that's the issue at hand now. The issue at hand is the tuition fees. Can we afford them? How do we pay for them? And you said that.
Let's wait for Adam to finish his point.
You said that this demo is building momentum. Well, as it was mentioned here, I've been a part of the Youth Parliament. I was a part of one of our NYP's campaigns to actually lower the fees when they were £3,000, back before the recession hit and everything. I can remember going to Parliament, being in a meeting with Nick Clegg, where he promised us that he had a solution that would get rid of the tuition fees, which just wasn't true. So I do think we should use these alternative means, such as Youth Parliament, and that it's one of the things I regret, that the fact I'm not on it now because I'm too old, is that I can't use them to fight the case of tuition fees. But I believe we should be working with them. Going out on the street demonstrating isn't the only method. There's the Youth Parliament, there's the British Youth Council. There's a wide range of different ways we can work with the government.
Well, neither is this, actually.
Yeah, well, neither the demonstrations. Back when Labour first introduced the fees, there were sit-ins, there were demonstrations. Back when there were £3,000, that didn't work. The fees have gone up. There were demonstrations when they were proposing this policy. That's not working. It's meant that this momentum we're building that to fight it is actually going in reverse. The opposite of what we want is happening. I think that means that these demonstrations, they've failed. We need to find new ways to work with the government in order to... We need to find new ways to work with the government in order to fight them. And I think it's important that we remember this.
Okay.
Demonstrating isn't the only option.
All right, okay. Let's go to the very back. Pop your hand up first.
These things aren't working. Protesting isn't working either. All it's doing is worsening the economy. We have to pay police officers overtime to police these protests. People are getting delayed to work when the car's getting blocked to go on the bridge. You can say it's your right to protest all you want. It's my right to drink a litre of vodka in the morning. That doesn't mean I'm going to get a whole lot of
Okay, we have
I totally agree with the man at the back there. I think that's an excellent point.
Hand at the front just here.
Basically, it's all very important what everybody said, really, and I agree with you that basically we have to do what's now available, what can work, because there will be always, if you look in the past, if you think about the future, there will be always something. The world is not perfect, and we always will have to deal with something. And basically, if the demonstration is one of these methods that can change the reality, we need to find these better ways and add a particular meaning to it. So we should think about the meaning and act accordingly, and not waste time about and just do what needs to be done with a meaning.
Okay, we're going to take 2 more comments from the audience, and then I'm afraid we are going to have to wrap it up for this evening. Go ahead. Can you stand up so we can hear you, please?
He keeps talking about how protest fails, but only less than 6 months ago in Quebec, I think everyone should know that the students actually went against the tuition fees and the marketisation system they're trying to implement in Quebec, and the students won. But that has been quashed in the mainstream media. The same thing with Iceland and the way that they have taken control of their banks and got rid of their bankers and got rid of the politicians that ran that system. The same thing has happened in Quebec, and the mainstream media doesn't let anybody know about it. So Quebec, the students fought and they won, and that's the story that people need to know. And this thing that protest doesn't work. How do you think that we eventually got the right to vote and the right for women to have the right to vote? The right to
All right. Okay, one more at the very, very back. You had your hand up. Do you want to stand up for us?
Yeah, you say the system doesn't work, and I agree, but don't you think the whole system needs to change? Yes, capitalism doesn't work now, but the kind of capitalism we have needs to change. Not crony capitalism, where banks are being bailed out and idiots being broke. I agree, it's a market. A market should not be held by the state, that it should be allowed to fail. I agree, but also I don't agree that we need to more stay more, because that doesn't apply here. That's what happens.
Okay. You look like you want to wrap it up for us, Callum. Is that all right?
Well, I want to come back to
Okay, you've got to come back to that point really quickly.
Okay, just on that point, it isn't state ownership and capitalism, and you know, and you can have one or the other. I mean, actually, state ownership is you know, a very important part of capitalism today. If you look at the world's fastest growing economy, there's a lot of state ownership, and you know the capitalism that we see today that is in a severe crisis, it hasn't occurred by chance, and we can tweak a bit here, tweak a bit there, and we can return to this wonderful kind of capitalism that we supposedly had at some point. A capitalism of its own internal logic and contradictions has come to this point, and basically the majority of people who have no stake in owning or making decisions about resources under capitalism, the majority of people, they're the ones that are being made to pay for this crisis. And this debate, this education.
Shout a bit louder, please.
Sorry.
I did not say that. I said that nobody should make the mistakes of other people. That means that people should not make the mistakes of bankers. I do not agree with that. But also, other people should not pay for my education. You said earlier that my education is about my individual development. That's true. So why should other people who are going to earn a lot less than I do, why should they pay for it? It is true that it's my development. But I don't see why other people should pay for it.
No, but I mean, it's in all our interests. It's in all our interests to have a free education.
Okay, all right. We are going to have to wrap it
so
up.
Why don't?
I'm very sorry, guys. Sorry to interrupt. I'm afraid we really are going to have to wrap it up. Very quickly, Adam.
I'd just like to say that I didn't say protests don't work. They do work in some circumstances. You mentioned votes for women. You can mention slavery. You can look at the Arab Spring. The key difference is that's where people are being oppressed. Here, we're not being oppressed. The people who can come to university, they're not being oppressed. You're looking at social issues to economic issues. They're two different things. You can't compare them. You can laugh, you can shake your heads all you want. That is the matter of the fact.
Okay, all right. I'm really sorry, guys. I'm really, really sorry. But we are completely out of time. Wow, lots of enthusiasm, which is fantastic. So we are going to have to leave it there. The full debate will be available online on Smoke TV's YouTube channel, as well as a highlights show. So you've obviously enjoyed this. Make sure you send the link out to all your friends. And as this is a pilot for Smoke TV, we'd love to get your feedback on this. So please get in touch with any thoughts you had on tonight's debate. All that's left for me to do is to say thank you to all our panelists. Thank you to all our fantastic Smoke TV crew as well. Thank you to you, the audience, and everyone watching at home. Thank you very much, everyone. Good night.